Okay, welcome to another tutorial on the fly-by-wire A320NX for Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. Today we're going to cover takeoff. It should be quite a short tutorial. We're currently on the ground at London Heathrow. If you are wondering how to get to this point, I have released two other videos, one on the quick start and one on the MCDU setup, which you should be able to see links to round about now. If you want to check those out to see how to get the aircraft set up to this point, then please do so at some point. Right, we're going to continue now then. So we're set up on the taxiway. We've just pushed back from the gate there, and the engines are currently running. I'm now going to go through the few steps it takes to get you into position ready for takeoff. So we'll jump inside the aircraft then. So first thing I'm going to do from here, now the engine is running, you can see we've only just started the engine up as we were being pushed back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the ignition mode to normal. Okay, now you can go through these checklists. So again, you have got the checklist up here, and if you go to the contents of the checklist, you can see there are before start, engine start, after start, taxi checklist, all the rest of it. Okay, but I'm just going to go through what I do. I'm not a pilot, so if I did use the checklist, I'd just be doing it automatically anyway. I wouldn't be doing it manually myself because I'd have no idea what I'm looking at most of it. So I'm just going to run through what I adjust. So first thing is the engine mode selected to normal. Okay, so as you look at that, you can see you've got normal, ignition, start and crank. We've had it on start to start the engines. We're now going back to normal. Okay, from here then, I'm going to turn off the APU because we don't need that anymore. That's the little engine in the back of the aircraft. So the one that's in the tail there. Okay, we no longer need that because the engines are now powering the aircraft, the two main engines. So APU off, you'll hear that start to spool down, and it will go off. Okay, there we go. APU's on its way out. Okay, what you can see here now is we've got a little takeoff checklist there. So that's going to be handy in a second. But we want to make sure this takeoff page is on the perf, because this has got the information we're going to need to take off. So, looking at this, we're not going to do all these steps just yet. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the speed brake to armed position, so I'm going to pull it up. And then from here I may as well set the flaps now. So I'm going to set the flaps to flaps 1, which is what we've put in there for takeoff. So there we go, flaps to flaps 1. So you can see the flaps takeoff and spoilers arm has now gone. Signs on as well, I've already got the signs on. Okay, so that's the emergency exit sign, the seatbelt sign and the no smoking sign there. Okay, so next we've got the cabin, the auto brake to max and the takeoff config. Now what we want to do is we want to do these as we're lining up to the runway, so we'll do those in a second. What we can do here though is we can turn the TCAS on, so we'll set that to all and then right over to TARA on this side. So if you can see that there, the light's a little difficult, but we just literally set that to all and then that one to TARA. Okay, and now that says, oh, mouse is going crazy here. That now doesn't have a warning about the TCAS. Okay, I'll just put that back to arc. Yeah. Okay, and you can also see predictive wind shear off there. We will have to turn that on. The predictive wind shear is there. Okay, we will have to turn that on, but we'll do that when we get closer to the runway. So, we're going to taxi off for now. So, basically we're going 27 right here from Heathrow. And we're going to make our way down to the runway now. Obviously, if you're using VATSIM at this point, this is where you'd want to request taxi clearance and they tell you where to taxi. Okay, so there we are at the holding point. Now, obviously you then contact the tower, tell them you're ready for takeoff. They say either something like hold position, or they'd say line up and wait on the runway, or they'd say clear for takeoff. So let's assume we've got the clear for takeoff. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the final few things I need to get this checklist out and get the aircraft ready for takeoff. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the strobes on because I'm now next to the runway, so I'll turn them on. I'm then going to put the landing lights on, and I'm going to switch the nose lights to takeoff. Okay, what I'm then going to do up on the top is I'm going to buzz the cabin to tell them that we're ready for takeoff. Okay, and then I'm going to turn predictive wind shear on, set the radar to system 1 or 2, and then I'm going to put it on turbulence mode, and then that'll pick up any weather on the actual radar screen there as well. Okay, from here then, all I'm going to do is I'm going to set auto brake to max, so going by this checklist. You can see the cabin signs disappeared, and there you go, auto brake max, that's now disappeared. That is the takeoff config set, so I'm going to test that by pressing this button here. It is TO config, so I'm going to press that. That will run a test, and it will give the seats for takeoff. It will also say normal if there's no problem. Okay, so you can see I've got flaps set to 1 as well there. Alright, landing lights are on, cabin ready, parking brake is still set, auto brakes max, signs are on, cabin is ready again there, spoilers are armed, flaps to takeoff, and takeoff config normal. Okay, so now I'm going to line up on the runway. So parking brake off, and forward we go. Now if you start pressing the brake at this moment with the auto brake set, so if you start pulling the brakes, it will knock the auto brake off, so that's one to look for if you do press the brakes. Okay, I'm not going to press the brakes now. So yeah, I shouldn't have to reset it. I'm literally just going to line up and take off. Now there's a few ways we can take off. The reason we have the V-speed set here is for the auto takeoff, which is the flex takeoff setting there. Okay, and basically now you can see that it's saying 138 is my V2 speed, and it's going to tell me where my speeds are as they come down to me. Okay, so it'll tell me where I want to aim off for pulling off the runway, and you'll see that as we go to takeoff. Now you may also want to set the throttle to full, which is the takeoff go round position, which is right at the top there. Okay, and that will just be full throttle, but you'll have to quickly spool down the engines or you'll overheat at that setting. So we're going to go with a flex to temp, and what you should hear is 2 clicks as we do it. So first start throttling up. First click is the climb setting, next click is the flex to temp there. Okay, I'm drifting a little bit. Okay, so you can see it says flex there at 58 degrees, which I set before, and here comes the speeds. All we're going to do when we hit the purple arrow is rotate the aircraft. Here it comes. Rotate. Okay, and that's us off the ground. Now what we want is positive climb, so by positive climb I mean you can let go of the stick like that and the aircraft should still climb. So once we've got that, we're going gear up. Next you're looking for your speed coming in line with the S, and when that happens you're just going to go flaps to position 0. So here it is, and flaps up, position 0. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate the autopilot because I do have a flight plan, so I'll do that now. Autopilot activated, so the autopilot now has the aircraft. That's going to climb to 5,000 as it's already set, and it's also going to follow this flight plan which it's doing now. Okay, what we will see is lever climb flashing here. Once you see that, all you're going to do is pull the throttles back to climb. You hear the engine spool down slightly. It's just not takeoff thrust anymore, it's just regular flight thrust. The autopilot has the auto throttle, and it will control the speed based on the flight plan and the speed profiles that were put in there. What you can do now is, if you wanted to, you could increase the speed and select the airspeed by pressing down. Okay, and that will then reach the speed. So let's say we go to 300. And you see now it starts to climb up to 300. You can also do the same with the altitude. So if I say 10,000, set 10,000 there. And you can see the aircraft climbs way up past 5,000, it's now going up to 10,000. What does happen is if you've got a speed that's a lot higher than your ability to reach it in terms of climbing as well, it will choose either the speed to hit first or the altitude. I'm not sure how it does it, but basically it doesn't seem to do both at the same time. So it would normally choose to hit the altitude or the speed first, and then it will climb afterwards, or it will speed up afterwards. So it's best to set speed or altitude. What you can see there is, if you watch in the previous videos, we had a transition altitude. Okay, we've now hit that. That altitude is is 7,000 or above. And what you can see now is the QNH is flashing there. What that means it wants us to do is set the barometric pressure to standard by pushing this down here. So do that, that goes to STD, and it says STD there, and it adjusts the pressure of the QNH to show the correct altitude. Okay, but that is us now in the air and taking off. The autopilot has it, it will do the rest. It's then up to you how you continue on the flight plan. Either you leave it to the autopilot, or you would then take control yourself at some point. Okay, as you get later on into the flight, you want to be thinking about things like approaches and things like that, and different waypoints you may need to hit, and maybe even go into heading mode. So I'll quickly just show you heading mode. Although we are flying autopilot, it's following this track here, but if we needed to deviate from the track at all, we can do so by using heading mode. So all we do first of all is press engage, head and select. At the moment, that's directly along as it was with a flight path. All I need to then do is say I wanted to go to heading 010, which is there. I just turn it to 010 on there, and it follows the heading. Okay, and that is now, you can see the original flight path is the dotted line there, and we're now going off that original flight path to 010, and that will follow that heading instead. And you can do that all the way through, all the way around on the 360 degrees. So say we've gone all the way around, or it should do, it's taken us around to the left instead, because it's closer to that way. So that's another thing to keep in mind. If you want to turn right to a certain heading or left to a certain heading, you have to do it slowly, bit by bit, otherwise it will just take the quickest route to that particular heading. So you can see I did 239, it's now going to the left to 239 because that was the quickest route to reach that heading. Okay, but that's it, we are in the air and we are now flying. To jump back onto flight plan, you just click engage, manage heading mode. Same with speed. If you wanted that to the aircraft to choose your speed, you just click engage, manage speed, and it's now going to slow down. Okay, increase the altitude is just as easy as that, and then you can press engage managed or engage selected, and it will go up or down to the selected speed. Obviously don't do them straight after one another, it'll get confused. Okay, but that's us flying. We're currently along the flight path, and that is how to take off in the A320NX by fly-by-wire for Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. I hope you did enjoy this tutorial, guys. If you did so, please leave a comment telling me as such, and don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment. Thanks.